Good viewer, you are watching Xirtus. This is because Xirtus makes you feel good, makes you feel fulfilled. You are enjoying this. You will continue to watch Xirtus for a long time to come. You want to subscribe to Xirtus, and you will. You will like and subscribe and share. You will tell your friends. Tell your friends about Xirtus. Your friends will come to like Xirtus, much as you are liking this right now, as we speak. Thank you for subscribing to Xirtus. See, that was easy.
Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Shoutouts to Andreas, Deacon, my boy Scott, Pedro, and everyone else that engages on my posts, etc. Keep it up, man. You'll get there someday. And everyone else from Great Memes.
Welcome to Advanced Philosophy Memes, right? Because it's usually Wednesday Ultra, but this is a little different. I feel like the vibe is back to the Wednesday of philosophy. It's like the first philosophy memes group based YouTube show that isn't a cult. No, okay, never mind. So it's not the first of anything. Well, it's the first woman in space. That's basically what it is.
Cults. Is there such a thing as a good cult? Has there ever been like
Totally.
a
Yeah.
positive cult? Yeah.
Yeah, cult classics all exist. There's tons of cult classics.
Hells yeah.
Well, you know, where's the line between culture and cult? Like, a fanatical cult is a group of people who are fanatical under an idol, and then you have that in culture, and you have fans that are essentially the same. So
It's the zealotry.
Or yeah, I mean, like also you could probably create a cult that was good on purpose, like creative utopian living together would be like a CULT like acronym, and then like that could be like a nonprofit organization that like shares in the belief of philanthropy. Like there's no reason that it's kind of like the word occult, like occult just means like hidden.
Hidden.
Yeah, right. So cult, I feel like it's not necessarily hidden, but not everyone's a part of it. It's culted, you know.
inner
Cult.
circle, outer circle.
Etymology of cult. Let's start with that real quick. I was about to introduce everybody, but now I got distracted. Hold on one second. The etymology. No, we'll talk to you. We care. Just a second. Etymology online. That's a good start right there. Cult worship. Really? Homage. A sense now obsolete. Well, okay. That's interesting. So it started out as a particular form or system of worship. Just simple care, labor, cultivation, worship, reverence. Yeah. Dang, bro. Colère, to till, a sea colony connected. Yeah. And then like it became a reference to ancient or primitive systems of religious beliefs and worship. In other words, non-Catholic vibes, right?
Well, it's funny
Devoted
because
attention to a particular person or
Oh, he did make it. I was so worried. I was
Hey.
like, because I played the Kurt song, and I was like, Kurt, he's busy because he's scuba diving. He's scuba diving right now. He's Scuba Kurt. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so now we've got it. We got Terror Risk is here. I'm glad to have you back. Good to see you, bro. How you been? He's been wielding swords this week. You know.
Oh yeah, every week. It's all
Pretty
I do.
based. Vincent's in Quebec. He's chilling. How's it up there?
Not bad. We had a tornado like 2 days ago.
See, that's weird. That
is
to me
rare.
is weird. You don't think of French Canadian tornadoes like
No. I mean, it's a north like pretty far north tornado, which is a very rare thing. I mean, so it's
Brutal,
only happened
man.
a few times in Quebec in the last 100 years. So
Jeez, did it like do any damage or anything, or was it pretty much?
I don't know. I didn't read much into it, but there was a tornado like 2 years ago as well, and like that was crazy.
The more you see, yeah, like there was one in LA or something like several dust storm twister things that were small that were starting to. So like this could be a
small
man-made
glimpse of what's to come, you know.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And
But
the CERN is it CERN? Is that it? I think the
HARP. Probably.
HARP,
You
yeah,
think
HARP,
you
okay.
think CERN, because CERN is a linear accelerator and doing what they think is making Brags into Bragg apple cider vinegar, right?
Whereas
Like
HARP is doing like the
Yeah,
frequency in your brains.
yeah, and in the weather is the thing, right? Because HARP
Yeah.
actually affects the ionosphere with the VLF band, because you have the very
Yeah.
low frequency is pushing radioactive ions. So anytime we've ever put off allegedly atomic blasts, there is radioactive ions which have accumulated in a VLF band. So when you go through the Schumann resonance, there's supposed to be just radiation, right? Which is crazy.
I think there
Well,
was like
they-
this whole. Well, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Well, there's a lot of like sorry, they're trying to alter the like there's a lot of they're putting chemicals in the sky and like constantly around here, so could be that Quebec is actually very much a place for experiments in terms of like weather control or weather manipulation or all that stuff, you know.
Dude, Kurt, your legs look great. I just wanted to say. So are you in scuba shorts right now? Is that what's going on?
Getting
No,
it
I'm
so-
doing the preliminary online courses. So yeah, it only takes like probably like 15 hours to get it done, but yeah, it's not very. The initial steps aren't very hard, but
So you can do scuba online. Like, do you have to have a bathtub, or like what are the requirements to do online training?
No, you start out doing the online training, and yeah, it's
And
like
then you can
15
go
hours.
in to do the tests or like the real things with you training.
Basically, yeah, they review all the information with you, and then yeah, I guess scuba is one of the easier professional things you could do, depending on who you are, because I think a lot of people would get freaked out about scuba, you know, just with all the machinery and stuff, they get kind of spooky, but I don't know. I think I'm cool with it.
It takes a special type of person to do that, you know, like especially as a living, like so.
Yeah, scuba's
Killer
rad,
person.
except for like coming up fast. You got to like the thing that scares me isn't like ever equipment. It's like if you had a lack of oxygen and you had a certain amount of time to get to the surface, and you have to wait because otherwise the
You
pressure.
explode.
Yeah, or just little bubbles form in your blood that cause aneurysms and strokes before you reach the surface. Like they could all
So
kinds of
worth it.
horrible things. Yeah, that's
So
the thing that stops me.
I've always been freaked out about like those freak nature deaths. Like you could just be walking in like this beautiful area in nature outside and suddenly just drop dead because of like airborne gases from like sulfuric acid deposits or some shit. Like that shit'll just fucking kill you. No warning, no symptoms, just instant dead. And it's like that stuff is just out there. I think close to volcanoes, especially. Like that's where you'll find shit like that.
you know, don't think
Chuck-
about it too much. Just think
Chuck
about
said-
it enough to avoid it.
Chuck says that the American Time Machine camera angle always makes him uncomfortable. Let's get a little close up to see what he's talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, this is
I have
really,
no
he's
idea.
really-
A nice little
He's
gooch
really
shot over
just-
there.
this is the next level. Like I think there's ladies that watch this show, so it's probably okay. But wait, you had your microphone up towards your face.
There's some social struggle or socializing.
Kurt, you were to say about death and pressure?
Well, like with scuba, like I was reading that yeah, you have some people get decompression sickness. You're not supposed to fly within like 24 hours ish when you come up from a dive or like double dive we'll call it. But they say yeah, I read only like 1% of like scuba divers they experience decompression sickness anytime in their lifetime. It's a very small number of people. So I guess if you know what you're doing, it's a really small chance. And it's not like everybody just dies from it. It's just like some people just get it and like, oh, that sucked, and they get through it. So it's very rare, and I think you have to be a bit on the stupid side to actually get decompression, like really bad decompression sickness. But
Well,
just
I'm
from
scared
what I
of
read.
like
All the more reason to keep me out of it. Yeah.
I'm scared of like there's cases of people who kind of forget, like they reach a sort of zen state down there, and then they forget that they're underwater, and they just take off their scuba mask, and they're at the bottom of the ocean, and then they drown, and that's it. And
Oh yeah,
That's
there's
not me.
it's like
Yeah.
it's like opening a door on a plane, you know, just like, oh fuck, like a weird brain fart that happens, you know.
God, that's horrifying to think about.
It's called nitrogen narcosis. Like apparently you can, yeah. There's certain things.
Move
that
your
build up-
cable. It's weird. The sound.
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah, nitrogen narcosis. It can actually make you feel feelings of euphoria when you're down there. But like, yeah, it's just something chemical going on when you're down all that way, and it can cause you that or cause you anxiety. But it's just the water, and so if you're aware, you can get yourself out of it, I guess.
Man, are you conscious that you produce ASMR violence with that microphone? That's like amazing. Like it's
ASMR violence. I like that. That's a nice term.
Thank you.
It's the antithesis, right?
Still,
Oh,
well, that's
I'm
response.
overstimulated by this video. I'm so overstimulated. ASMR cancer.
It would be interesting if like there was something to those weird quack theories. They're saying how eventually we could have sounds that could cure diseases if you listen to them or if you just envelop yourself in them. I mean, maybe ASMR really is like a precursor to that. I mean, apparently sounds don't just have the capacity to make you feel better. Apparently, like really normally imperceptible frequencies can like drive you to be nauseous or sick or give you headaches or something.
Yeah, I
mean-
think they need to start, if they tuned everything to like holy frequencies, I wonder if solfeggio frequencies would just, lower like insurance and health care costs.
That'd be sick.
Well, it's interesting because it seems self-evident, like we know that music, for example, is a healing thing and that it actually does have an effect on us physically and mentally and all of it,
Mhm.
And maybe it's because of the ideas behind it or something, and then it acts as sort of as a placebo effect, or it's actually a frequency thing,
I mean, it is a vibration. Like
I know that some frequencies make me feel bad, like, and it's not like the idea behind it. I'm just like, whoa, that's like
I know I
like,
did.
it's very close to the brown note. It's very close to the brown note.
I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but it's been on my mind. Charles Manson,
course.
who made really great pop music, okay, and like was part of the Topanga Canyon, right? Topanga Canyon, like mind control, military, MK Ultra, whatever I have to type there, right? Like blah blah blah. Yeah, Topanga Canyon. Okay, so we'll get to Caroline later. We'll do that in a minute. I'm just saying, with Charles Manson, he went to Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys and recorded all kinds of really great pop songs. And I made that cover. Did you hear my like Look at Your Game Girl cover?
Yeah.
Get you, right? And
Charles Manson, everybody.
so like two things I realized, like one is like how sad it was because he would have really loved the 80s if he had access to like the equipment, because we could do with like cassette recorders in prison. Imagine if he had like an 8-track mixer.
Well, he was the MK Ultra sacrifice for it. He was like, okay, I'm gonna usher in that technology, techno, and then
Right.
and then everyone else took from him.
But the other thing is like, how cool is his music, right? Can't you judge something by like its fruits?
Hey, look,
like,
look, it sounds like the generic shit that came after it. And
Well, there's still a
that's,
science behind-
fine, but
I mean, there's an
Doesn't
art
mean
to
it's
writing
good.
an earworm. You can't just decide, oh, I'm gonna write an earworm and just
But
anybody
I
can
don't-
do it. It's actually
I
hard.
don't-
Like
I don't think the metric should be if it's good or not. I think that it's a functional earworm and it's catchy.
yeah,
and it
that's
does
what I
all
would
those
say.
things.
I would agree with.
It does.
I would agree with
It
that.
does all the MK Ultra triggers that makes you go,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm listening to like Charles
I'm
Manson
jamming.
music. Right
that's
now.
what good.
Like, this-
That's what that word you use. Good. That's what that word means. That's what that is, right? Because if you have
functional. I don't know.
like a functional, functional form. I was just literally thinking.
I mean,
this
you could
earlier.
write a
I don't-
catchy
I don't know
song
if I'd
about
say,
like
look,
assaulting
I'm
people and
driving.
stuff.
If
Well,
if
that's
the
fine.
goal is something bad, then I can't say that. Like if it's functionally doing its purpose by doing something bad.
Well, good
then that
just
means
means
it's
kind
good.
of good just means kind of godly, right? Like the devil's kind of godly, like godlike in a sense, right? It's like it's following a sacred structure.
But he's
and
also
geometry.
evil. He's also
True.
the embodiment of evil. Like-
Yeah, but like so then that
no, I get it. It's like the yin yang.
expl-
There's a little bit of good in the evil and all that.
but also the devil writes all the music. I get you there. But there's something
I don't
about
know.
all the
I don't know
good
about that.
music. Clearly, Lucifer did all the worship tunes because he's like every day that's like outdo himself. Yesterday, he did like a water show, and he's like, "I'm sorry, that was crazy." Today, we've got lions jumping through fire rings. It's gonna be great.
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
I
But
love it.
David sang that holy. He played that holy tune, and
It
God,
was over.
God liked it. You know?
Lucifer's like, "Really? That's what you wanted?" To
Well,
Yeah,
There's a-
yeah.
there's a
this
really
is just
funny
a
joke.
tribute, right?
It was probably
Yeah.
formulaic as heck.
There's that joke. It's like how heaven must be super boring because all the good musicians are in hell, like Mozart,
Yeah.
Bach, all the rock stars. They're all burning in hell. So it's like that's where all the good music is.
I like the one
Sure,
where like
but-
heaven and hell are actually like next to each other, and there's not like a big pearly gate wall. It's actually this little fence, and the fence is broken in, and people are crossing back and forth. And then God's like, "You gotta like clean up your side of the fence," and the devil's like, "You do it." And then God's like, "If you don't do it, I'm gonna get a lawyer." And then the devil's like, "Where in heaven are you gonna get a lawyer?"
That's good.
Sure, but boredom is it's a neurochemical deficit. It's a need that's relative to the suffering of existence. And so, if all the good musicians are in hell, and all they play is show tunes in heaven, if we don't have that neuro deficit of like boredom, we'll just be like, yeah, show tunes are good. They
Well, the
do their
only thing-
function. They're
So
godly.
like, there's two good things I need when I'm listening to music. Like, there's really two things I need. Like, one is formula, so I'm like, and then it does if I've never heard the song before and I know where it's gonna go, and it goes up or something like that, and I'm like, good, it did what it's supposed to do, and I'm really proud of that song, and it makes me feel like it's right. The only thing that's like maybe as good or better is when a song does something you don't expect that still works. You're like, oh wow, I expected you to go,
Yeah.
and then you hit a sharp, and that was, but it makes sense because you did all this other formula, which is what all I care is that you're following formula.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know. I need that.
I think that music is like a primary function of human existence, and that we all need it, and innately we create music, or we should. We all used to be very, very musical people, and then eventually the technology was like, oh, we should give it to professionals to make the music. But even then, we could serenade each other, and it was just common. Acoustic guitars were one of the most common things in the world.
What do you think
for
the
a
first
while.
song was?
It was probably a hum for a baby.
Or
It was
someone
like
said
they
it was like
were-
the human heartbeat.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's a rhythm. That's just I guess
Or not
that's
the first
rhythm.
Yeah,
song.
like,
Someone
I
should say
would've-
the first music. That's what it is. Like the
'cause I
first
would've-
music.
I would have thought also like birds in the morning are telling each other it's all right, with sounds. There's like,
Sure,
okay,
but let's think of, I guess, music as like a technology that's related to human consciousness. Like, because in nature it's just sound. Without human consciousness, we don't contextualize it as music. So a bird is just being a bird, and then we go, that sounds like a song, but really it's playing a tune that comes out so naturally that it can't actually frame it that way. So yeah, like it just singing is more of it's like a stream of consciousness kind of thing that comes out of you. Like it, for some reason there's a term that's been throwing around with like people with ADD, like stimming, where people make certain sounds and they sort of create like rhythms just out of nowhere, where they'll start whistling or whatever kind of thing. And it's also, I guess, something of like Tourette's, but like this is just what people have always done. We just hum. People have hummed while walking. People have whistled a tune forever, and this is just part of I think it's part of our self-regulation of our neurology, that we just gotta do it. And it's almost like dance, but we've sort of shoved these things into a corner socially, that this is the appropriate place to do it, and you have to reserve your tune for yourself in a way.
Bernie, do you have your like former lodge bumper like as a sticker on your back window? Is that the deal, Burns? I just saw like lodge number like 483 or something like that. Is that your lodge behind you? You're muted, by the way. I like it. I mean, your porch masoned out, but you're an everyman's Mason. You're like an everyman's Canadian right now. So can't hear you. There he is. There he
All
is.
right, Bernie's just working at his new job on a tractor.
Oh, that's what the triangle was. I thought you were driving on the highway, and I was like, dude, he's got this lodge number. That's your tractor number. Am I
Hey.
embarrassed? Am I embarrassed?
Really working.
That's pretty great. Look at you doing work. This is totally.
Yes, my apologies. I will be off work in like 10 minutes and rejoin your stream.
Yeah, I feel
Hey.
like this probably.
But
might
I
get
saw a
you written-
social experiment, so
This might get you written up. I'm gonna pull you out.
so
I don't
they
want
can't
anyone to
hear
see
it.
you
I
did
guess
this.
you don't.
I'm pulling you out. I don't want you to get written up. As soon as they see that, bro, are you kidding me? Like, that's not okay. I hope it's okay. That's beautiful.
You're out here talking about metaphysics on the job site.
Bro, what if they. That's
I love what
awesome.
you're thinking.
Oh, man. That kind of blows my mind. Well, do you guys want to talk about social experiments, or are we still on that?
Sure.
All
That's
right.
what-
Caroline Konstnar, right? One of the funniest women in comedy. Do you know who this is?
I've seen her stuff a few times.
Yeah, she's like young. She's done some like videos that are kind of interesting, witchcraft and things like that. Mini VHS kind of. I mean, it's Zoomer humor, but it's definitely like funny, I think. So she made a video. I have an announcement, and it's this video that was like, you haven't been on the internet in like a year, and it's because I'm a young 20-something who's become 20 and I've become pregnant, and I'm not with the guy anymore, but I'm keeping the baby. She's like crying and manic, and it's like freaking amazing. Honestly, this video is a masterpiece. This is really powerfully well edited. Like I don't know if she's going to NYU film art school or what, but it's in like acting level is genius. Point is, she then disappears for a minute, and she does another video called I Lost the Baby. And I Lost the Baby is like, I don't know where I put the baby. I don't know where I put the baby. I don't know, where's that baby at? It's freaking brilliant, right? And she's like, here's the thing. I made this whole video as a social experiment because, you know what I mean? And everyone's like, no, and like now everyone's all upset. No, they don't want to hear her out. They're just like, how could you do that? You lied to all these people.
It is a
before
pretty
even hearing
sick
her out.
lie. Like that's a really big
Super
one.
sick, bro. It was like, what? It's a sick burn, bro, is what that is. That is based. That's a based. That is amazing. And then what she does is she's like, actually, it was all a social experiment to announce my Patreon, right? And the reason is because, you know, after years of being told by everyone who's ever found my name on the internet that they want to rape me because she's like a young girl, right? And like how that's like freaked her out. She's gotten her own impression of the world from the internet. And so she's trying to bring to presence like how little people really exist, how much untruth matters more than truth these days because there's so much less truth that people experience and so much more capacity to live in lies that people have, and how monetary values are associated with everyone, whether they care about anything, how much time they put into watching you. Oh, you subscribed to me. Oh, you super chatted, etc. I don't know, man. I was just like, wow. I straight, I don't know if it's because I went to college too long or something, but I was just like, wow, this is brilliant. This is like the greatest video. I'm sorry to say that yet. I wanted to wait till you guys were all like, this is terrible. Sorry, this is terrible, right?
I mean,
I've seen much worse
pros
though.
and
Like
cons.
just I've seen like because like, I know the type she is, like one of those artsy kids who spend literally just artsy kids who spend too much time on the internet. I know the kind of like content that they would engage with and like a lot of times produce. That shit's like, I don't know, that's a little higher tier because usually the stuff you see is like just people doing degenerate stuff, but now it's becoming like a more refined and polished packaged product, the content. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'd say this is like the next level of what I'm used to seeing, you know?
Totally.
Just like
yeah,
a
no,
little
like, I
more-
mean, this is like, do you guys remember what Man on the Moon? Did you guys ever watch Andy Kaufman stuff? Like, you know, Andy Kaufman's whole thing, it doesn't matter. Like, how much respect can you have for your audience, right? Like, we have a different thing going here because our audience become our like co-hosts, but in real life with the television and the YouTube world where millions of people that she's interacting with, like she shouldn't care what they think. She should only care what they feel, right? More importantly, she has to care what they feel. And this is making people feel a way, but also she's not just making this drama without telling people what's going on. I think that's why people are so upset. They're like, hey, you got me. You know what I mean? That's really what kind of blows people's mind, is that they don't like to be confronted with the fact that they're living a lie and they'd rather just keep going on with that lie. That's
Right.
I feel like that's really the upset.
Yeah. I think people are shown that what they believe is easy to manipulate and easy to exploit, and when it's placed directly in front of them, they can't really handle it, and they react that way. But I mean, poor girl becoming famous on the internet is a curse.
Right,
what
yeah,
they
she
say.
didn't mean to do it,
Yeah.
obviously. Like, when she first was, like,
Telling you unspeakable things.
when she was 14 and she made, like, a couple YouTube
Crazy.
videos and they, like, put her out there and, like, she got, like, if you go for 100,000 is one thing. 1 million views.
But this happened for every celebrity. This happened for every celebrity, boy and girl. Any 12-year-old, anyone on the cusp of puberty or going through it, like every single time, like they put it, whether it be on TV or in comment sections, there's a weird just normalization of this sort of like everyone's waiting till they're 18 kind of thing. And it's always insinuated, It's really creepy.
Well, a lot of people were super pissed. I don't know. Like, maybe I should have started with that. Is like,
I don't think people should be mad. I think that she's right for doing this because she's reaching a sort of like, I think that self-reflection is the meta part where we reach the next level.
Look at this. This says everything you need to say. I don't know. This Swell Entertainment person, like their face. Like, this is the face of the kind of person that you want to manipulate the emotions of. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I ended that sentence with a preposition.
Well, she's got that sort of Who face,
Yeah,
The Pixar face.
I don't have a problem.
Well, I thought,
with
like
face,
the Dr. Zeus face there.
It's like, actually, what it is to me isn't anything to do with her like genes. It's literally the muscle. It's the muscle contortion. Like the
so
way
she's always sneering. She's always got that like.
Yeah, it's like
Vince,
she's got the. Sorry, go on.
I think you're right from what you said before. How like when celebrity culture could get like extreme levels of parasocial, where it's just straight up like you might as well just be self-reflecting with your time at this point. Like if you can't even count on anything to be sincere, authentic, and it's just purely made for like packaged forms of entertainment, then you might as well just at that point like look at it as if you're like looking at a version of yourself, just a fucked up version, but. Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I don't know. I just wanted to say so.
Yeah. So, like, what do you do also where you're living in a world and you're young and you realize that everyone's living lies and how easy it is to, like, show people that they're living in a false reality? It's like the South Park with Stan and the crossing over with John Edwards. He's like, no, this is not a psychic. Look, I could do it. Let me show you. And he's constantly trying to show them what this con artist is doing. Because he's like, look, if I could just do it myself to show you how he cons you, and everyone feels like he is either magical unless he like says it's all a con, like they won't accept it, right?
My strategy is like to just really try to commit yourself to what you love the most. Don't commit yourself to what you don't love, because that's gonna be like not good. If you don't love doing it, you're just gonna feel like it's a waste of time and burn out. But if you're committing yourself to something you actually love and enjoy doing, I mean, then it'll never be a waste of time. Sure, it might not get you rich, but at least you could say, like, spend your years saying you're doing something that you actually enjoy doing. And I don't know. I mean, who's to say, like, what if, making a lot of money isn't even necessarily the answer, right? Like, so that's what I would say.
But I think I think that there's a lack of self-reflection sometimes in the indulgence of things we love, because we fail to distinguish between what we love and what makes us feel good. And this is just, this is the very same thing about consuming these videos. People watch them because they love them or they like them or they make them feel good, but ultimately it's just blind consumption. And you gotta constantly be self-reflecting, because we don't actually know what love is or how to love, whether it be a person or a passion or anything like that, And I think creation is the best route there. I think that passion and creation together, as opposed to passion and consumption, because consumption is a bottomless pit, but creation is a hill that you climb. So climb that hill, and that's better neurochemically than always digging through the thing you love forever.
Well, it's also, you gotta think, it's like, oh, sorry, what?
I was gonna say, Melissa says women have a really dark sense of humor. Do you guys do? Also, Melissa, do you really think that's true? I mean, I know this is funny, but to even say, but I'm serious. I really like a lot of female. I like a lot of female comedians because they're dark.
I made this
Depends
joke before. I was like, when a guy tells me his
Not all.
honest feelings, like when a man tells me his honest feelings, I'm always like, wow, you were insecure about this little thing the whole time. Like, what are you, a little kid? Come on, man. And then when like a woman tells me her honest thoughts, I'm like, you're a bad person, but you're really cute. So I guess that's good, you know?
There are a
And
lot
like,
of really like people think women aren't funny or something, but like I mean, I'm not just talking about the 70s and the 80s when they were like the best comedians, but Chrissy Mayer, there's just so many really great female comedians, and it's true a lot of time it's a little bit more hardcore than any other comedy. I'm not saying Amy Schumer is even a woman, let alone a human. I didn't,
I think some men have like a reaction to a woman being funny. Like if it came out of a man's mouth, they would find it funnier than if it came out of a woman's mouth. In the same way that, a woman, I don't know, swearing compared to a man swearing is seen as less bad in the eyes of some men. And so this sort of lowers the amount of audience that they can actually have, because I don't think that they were really given the real chance. Like they're not, they don't entrusted with it because they don't think it'll come back. But now we have more and more specials all over Netflix and all that stuff. So
the problem is like
opportunity.
you don't, because it's kind of like the
it's a wasted opportunity.
It is a wasted opportunity. It is like the what do you call it, where you hire people that are the disproportionately raced. What's it called again?
Oh, DEI, I guess. I mean, there's diversity, equity, and like all that stuff.
Yeah, I forget. There's another word I'm thinking of. Where
I don't like using these words because like people just go like, "Hey, that's a dog whistle" or whatever.
But that's kind of a good enough to say a diversity hire, right? Because the problem with that is that they're saying we want to have people. So in order to do that, like I'm trying to say, like when they put people in college in the 70s, right, who were black, there's a term for that. Like with the minority inclusion, there's a term for that.
Tokenism?
Basically, but like what I'm trying to say is students who were able to do that ended up not being able to be themselves, because you have to fit into the mold that they're creating for them. Today, it's a little bit like wokeism has replaced what you're allowed to talk about in comedy. So you're not able to say like a woman talking about things that started in the 80s would be okay.
Look, this is an ecosystem, right? So like when they're pouring more and more fodder
affirmative
into
action. Affirmative action.
Yeah. But like let's say diversity, sure, but the problem is the checklist. It's not the diversity. Diversity is just people being able to say, like, having an opportunity. It's what they do with that opportunity that really matters, and most of them will be terrible. The same is true for regular comedians that are normally shown. Most of them are fucking dog shit, and then out of that we get one Dave Chappelle or one Louis C.K. or one George Carlin or Bill Hicks or whatever, like, and they're the ones that stand out. And so we got to sift through all the garbage, and we got to get through a lot of the garbage content. And it's true for all modern media that applies this sort of affirmative action in DEI. It's a bad strategy, because it shouldn't be that, like, just throw as much shit against the wall until like a nugget sticks and like hope it's gold, like it's bad for representation, because you end up having a lot of shit that makes people go, look, this is what they do with diversity. They're making absolute shit. They ruined all these things that people love. And then, at some point, what they're hoping that it'll stick. Like, no, you gotta at least focus on quality, and then like make that the focus before diversity and before anything else. Just make sure you make something good, or else people are gonna reject it.
Well, when you say diversity, like I feel like there's a difference between American diversity and actual diversity. Actual diversity would be like playing foreign films, foreign shows, and exposing Americans to actual foreign shit. But American diversity is just like making American shit just a little more colorful, I guess, a little more inclusive. And that feels just like, I don't know, it kind of adds like a middleman to what you're actually going for, which is what you're trying to make shit more cultured, right? And
we talked about localizers. You talked about localizers the other day, and how AI is removing localizers, but this is relevant here too, because the Western localizers are destroying anime, right? By like changing lines to be like about the patriarchy and yeeting.
But they've always been doing this. I mean, if you look at like Fox
Not
Kids,
anymore.
Kid.
Oh, you got frozen. Are you there?
Yeah.
Repeat. Sorry.
Yeah, well, like Fox Kids like did that, and like there was a whole bunch of like just the very structure of anime in the 90s and early 2000s was completely changed when it was brought to the West. And like
Sailor Moon, for the love of
yeah,
God.
you know, like they took some of the things, and like they would change some of the food. They thought like children were mentally handicapped in the West or something. They're like they couldn't understand that like a rice ball was food, so they had to change it for like a sub or something, you know. And just like these are unnecessary just cultural changes, and I think it's part of the it's actually part of the
Are you
I mean, it's
selling
part of-
rice in between the cartoon, or are you selling Subway sandwiches, Vincent? Be
Yummy, I love
The
rice.
thing is, I think, yeah, well, that's the thing. It's part of the part of the psyop matrix. You know, like this is social engineering, and it's this is the very topic of this thing. You know, it's just it's a social experiment to see how they're going to influence children, and they did it in our generation, trying to put in certain messages. In the 80s, it started off with like just buy. And like the GI Joe messages would be like, you know, buy the toy, and then like be good, don't smoke cigarettes or whatever, you know. And then
No,
the
they were
90s,
like the Flintstones smoke these Winston cigarettes. That's what
yeah. So it's like they're programming, and then they're like trying to fix their errors over time, going like, oh well, fuck, maybe we shouldn't have filled the children's minds with messages about like beating up your friends, like in Ren and Stimpy, or you know, like creating a bunch of Cartmans because Cartman was a reflection of that time. But then you just create this idol that people keep consuming and emulating, and you got to like deprogram after you've ruined a generation basically. And they're overcompensating now. They're going like, oh, we have to make all the inclusivity because they spent like 30 years or 50 years making gay jokes and like bashing trans people and like all this garbage that they filled all these old things with because they were still programmed with their previous crap. Like it's overcompensation.
Yeah, 90s comedy was pretty bad. Well, it was kind of liberating more so
gross.
in more some ways, but it was like really bad for the most part. Yeah.
Deconstruction, but that's part of the process. It's part of the deconstruction and reconstruction of things. It's dataism. We have to go through the fucking toilet before we can get to anything meaningful, you know? Like basic shit. Literally, they had like comedy, children's comedy about like poo poo caca, fucking
yeah. I remember.
Snot.
I was
like,
around. I was alive.
Really,
for that.
really weird. It was weird.
Well,
Strange
considering
time.
I
Well,
miss
considering-
some of the early racist stuff though. Like I remember there's this one guy I was talking about like racism early on, and it was like maybe 96 or something, compared to the late 90s when it was like, I'm a black man. Like everything became that was like the thing. And then you have Dave Chappelle into Carlos Mencia, and by Carlos Mencia, everyone's disgusted with it. But the beginning, there's this guy, and he's like, I grew up with a dad who was like he was a Nation of Islam, and he was very proud of being black, and he would tell us as a kid, look around, man, it's a conspiracy all the time. They're trying to tell you something. Like, well, look at this, like the black olives, like the green olives are in a jar, the black olives are in a can. Like, why do you think that is? How about the rice? This is the white rice. This is white rice. This is premium rice. Here's this wild rice. It's just regular rice, but it's wild, right? And like this whole thing, you're like, maybe there is something going on with the social engineering just in the little ways, you know?
Well, it depends how complex it really gets, but I think like this is about like the spreading of memes from this sort of like this I mean it's like the shadows on the wall in Plato's cave, but that are self-generating, because culture is constantly mirroring itself over and over and over. And so let's say I spend 30 years of my life
Black
consuming
words on a
something.
white page. Newspapers are aggressive. That's right. Good call, Brian.
But like if I spent 30 years consuming something and then I create something now as a person, like that's the accumulation of that 30 years of consumption, and then it's just another part of culture that's mirroring all of that, and so it's constantly echoing to everyone consuming all the time, like I think that's the basis of just the reinforcement of the illusion. Is just constantly being like, hey man, here's some micro messages that your subconscious is trying to process all the time. Buy, obey, drink, consume, fuck.
Well,
put on the glasses and you'll see it. It's
so
the same
after
thing.
hearing all of this, I think I've decided I will not be donating to Caroline's Patreon.
I was
That's
thinking
my
about doing
That's
it.
my final verdict.
I was like, if you're gonna make more content, I'll consider it. But like, I don't think it's gonna be my first move. But
how can we trust her from now on?
Yeah, it's not like
That's
I'm
the
gonna help
thing.
her feed
I
her
know-
imaginary baby. Like,
I never trusted her anyways.
I trust
Some-
her. It's
some
weird.
person.
Like it's weird. Like I all of a sudden she established trust with me. You know what I mean? She was like, look.
Oh yeah, well it's because you
That's
see
how I
that
felt.
she's a player. So now you can see that she's on your level. You know, she's
Oh God, yeah, I'm just a terrible.
she's not just some chick creating content. She's playing the meta game now.
You can't trust her. You can't trust her.
Yeah, she's on the Bo Burnham level now.
I don't know. Maybe right. Maybe it's all just a scam.
Just don't give her your money. You could follow
It's
her. You
not-
could consume her content. Just do not give her money.
Yeah,
It's a bad
give me
idea.
give me your money, everybody.
Yeah,
because
give-
I'm
give
pregnant
Andre-
and I just lost the baby as the stream was going, and I might find it again if you give me more money.
Well,
Kurt,
should
what
do-
do you?
you should-
Go ahead.
Well, sorry. All right. Well, if you really want to scam people, you should make like a kickstart for some like fake video game or something. But
Dude, real video game. Like that's the problem. I can't help. Like,
yeah,
I get like by the time you. This is my problem. I don't want to do a con because by the time you put as much work as you have to into the con, you could have just done the real freaking thing.
That's
it's
true.
so this world
Make a
is so
game
magical.
about conning people.
Oh,
Yeah,
there you
yeah,
go.
exactly.
Like this world's so magical that you can realize anything. So the idea of like not realizing the thing is actually seems like harder in some way because you have to almost purposefully not.
The thing is, it's easier to destroy and it's easier to create for negativity than it is to create something that is earnest and pure, you know, because then it'll be judged. Then someone will be like, oh, it's shit or it's not perfect. But if you're going like, well, I'm here to fucking scam you, then who's to say, you know?
I do believe grifting is an art,
Like,
but at the same
if
time,
the
it's like
scam
there's better
is
arts
good.
out there. Yeah, grifting can be good, like an art form, but I think there's a lot better arts out there, you know, that you should like invest your time into, I think.
Vincent, you saw ThunderCats, right?
I'm familiar with it. Look, it's distant. I was maybe 4.
So I was working on the ThunderCats musical, which got me like an impressive amount of views, and everyone keeps telling me I should do like more ThunderCats videos. So I had this idea. I don't know. Here's basically Jaga's journey.
Lord of omens, give me sight beyond sight, and it feels like my whole world's been blown away. But to my friend son I vow I won't let this boy astray. Protecting this child, king of all cats, the eye of thunderous wisdom, as I guard against the plundering rats. I shall carry this boy through hell towards the heavens, in these cosmic seas of space, until I perish, which will be before another cat dies. Oh, Thundera, once our pride, now lost in.
See, this is what happens when you show a French Canadian American.
Is that Nathan
comic book.
Filio?
That's AI Filio. That's Nathan Filio AI, bro.
Is it Nathan Filio AI? Is it actually Nathan Filio? Did you actually get Nathan Filio signatures?
I'm pretty.
Is he playing ThunderCats? Is he
It
playing
better
the main?
be. That's how we'll sell it.
You know, I don't like
That would work.
musicals. I have like 3 musicals I like in my life, and that's the South Park movie, Team America, and like I don't know,
Cannibal the musical.
If I'm feeling generous, Dr. Horrible, and the sing along blog.
That's pretty.
And Nathan Filio, he was singing.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Man, put him as the cat, and I'll watch it. Go for it. Put a ThunderCat leader. I remember Lionel. I think that's it.
I know, bro. Yeah.
Okay.
He's the Emmanuel. So, Kurt, why aren't comedians funny anymore? What's your take? I didn't hear it yet.
Turn on your microphone.
You're gonna mute yourself as you start to talk. That's brilliant.
No,
That's brilliant.
Yeah, you're muted. Oh, there you go.
There we go. Yeah, it's great to be audible. Nice to be audible. No, clearly, Jerry Seinfeld was very funny before everybody canceled him. You know, that's yeah. That I don't know what to say about Jerry Seinfeld and how funny Unfrosted was, or whatever. There was a Pop-Tart movie or something, and apparently it was
That's
bad.
pretty good.
No,
it was good. It was good.
I don't think
even Amy Schumer was good in Pop-Tart or the Unfrosted. Even Amy Schumer was good in that movie. Seriously.
So no, there's funny comedians out there for sure. That they're out there. I mean, now the stage. All right, so I'm gonna draw a parallel here. Now there is kind of a push for women to be part of things, and that can be
God bless.
great. That's awesome. Whatever. And So like one girl that gets on a lot of what's the word, algorithm, gets a lot of algorithm is named Taylor Tomlinson. I actually think she's pretty funny. She's in her late 20s now. She has like her own show and stuff. And I do appreciate her comedy, and I think the aspect isn't necessarily that they've had to be masculine to be funny. It's just like, well, they've had to be a lot more open about their side of the trauma, because I think that was the biggest issue, was for a lot of women to get on the stage. A lot of them weren't willing to be like, oh, here's all the bullcrap we experience, and here it is for all of you to see. And so I think
Right.
that's an important element for them to like get on the stage. Now, yeah, I think, and I like that. That's cool. And I think that's, yeah, a lot of good comedy is still out there, but now we're getting, I don't know. I think people are exhausted of the whole like, people are actually exhausted of free speech, believe it or not. It's like no one's has known really quite what to do with all this, perpetual speech that we've had from social media. And now it's like we are overstimulated. So it's like not even the things that are designed to like offend us. Like, yeah, there's people constantly being offended out there, of course, but I find it hard to be offended by anything anymore. And I think that's an experience that a lot of people are.
Yes.
It's like,
I
what
hope
can
to
make
God everyone gets there, you know?
yeah, what it's like something, anytime something's like getting to you, I don't think that's just my maturity. Yeah, maybe it is, I don't know, but like I think it's partially just because we're thrown at everything that's put before us on a screen. It doesn't feel like authentic anymore. It feels like, oh, this is just trying to get under my skin because it's manufacturing, the attention economy. And so that's exhausting for everyone. So I think there's good comedians. I'm having trouble putting into words how I'm feeling about why no good comedy gets to the forefront. I think a lot of good comedy doesn't come to the forefront because we're afraid of laughter at this point. I think that's the real issue. I think we're afraid to experience joy. We're in a kind of a cycle of self-punishment right now, and you could talk about, I guess, a lot of spiritual things if you wanted to, but it's like nobody wants to laugh right now. It's like you have to be suffering to be a good person and like participate in the progressive neoliberalism, whatever. It's like, no, the rest of the world is suffering. Why aren't you suffering too? And I think that's a completely backwards philosophy as well. It's like, I think, yeah, you do need to empathize with the world and feel its suffering, but also your responsibility is to also let them feed off of your joy as well. That's a biblical fruit of the spirit. It's joy. One of them is joy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, the big
love.
fundamental question is punching down funny? Is it funny to punch down? Sometimes,
Well,
yes.
I
All
think
the
it's
time.
I think it's a bridge.
I
I think it's a bridge though, because like within the hierarchy of suffering or whatever of victimhood, like it's a bridge between them. You gotta laugh at things in order to accept them. It's the first tool towards diplomacy. You laugh at me, I'll laugh at you. We both got fucking dumb shit. We're both human, and it's part of being human. I think it's like they're trying to like speed run social engineering right now. They're trying to like accelerate it to make it go like, yeah, you're not getting the message fast enough, so like, like let's just cram it as full as possible, as fast as possible, and then people are rejecting it because it's too fast. The process towards normalizing ideas, it takes time. You can't just try to like really rush through it. There's still funny comedians. I mean, currently there's some that push the envelope and they get in trouble for it, but like they still survive in their own ways. They still have their audiences, like Shane Gillis or Louis C.K. Like he's semi-canceled or whatever. There's still some funny people out there, and people are constantly exploring new boundaries and pushing new ways to be funny. So you just got to let them do it. You got to let like currently Kill Tony is one of the funnier things that's out there, and it's put at this point culturally where people get there and they're allowed to say whatever they want. It's improv, and you can just go and speak, and yeah, you might get in trouble for it, but they'll support you through it, and they'll help you if you're funny. That's what matters. It's just if you're funny.
I feel like is comedy always at the expense of somebody? Like that's like a rule.
I think so.
No,
I think
no,
it
I
might
don't.
be.
I don't think so. I think that comedy, interesting observation. There's
Start
something.
over. They cut.
I think that
they,
there's something in.
Babylon system cut you off. Do it all over.
I think that there's something funny about interesting observations and interesting aspects of life. Life is inherently funny, and that's part of the lens through which you experience it. Absurdism, like the comedian sees comedy everywhere he goes, and then he turns it into words for others to experience it, but he's looking for funny things because funny things are all around us, happening all the time, and the universe is hilarious, so you just gotta laugh at it.
Well,
There's
it's
so much
also-
to laugh at, you know.
You're right.
There's
Yeah,
a there's a
things could
horrible
be-
side. There's both sides. There's the bad side and there's the funny side, and which one you choose is really, you can look at both at the same time.
Well, yeah, it
Be like,
depends
yeah,
how you
that's
frame
sad.
it. Like something ordinary could be made funny depending on how you choose to reframe it. It's like something could be just normal, like whatever, like a thing, but a person could reword it and reframe it and present it to you in like a really funny way. I'm not
Sure.
good at that, but like
But
that's
I
one
think
example.
I think it's also how close you are to the problem. You know, like let's say you're boots on the ground Holocaust person. You're suffering like in World War II. Yeah, that's horrible. And then someone 60 years, 70 years later makes a Holocaust joke. That's funny suddenly. There's something about laughing about suffering and something about the way we process suffering that involves comedy. It's like I was watching, I don't remember her name. She's one of like the comedy greats. She did a lot of interviews and she had a lot of plastic surgery. I always forget her name. Anyways, she's Joan Rivers. She was doing a joke and she was
I
saying,
hate that that's how you introduced her instead of as like the woman who outed Michael Obama or something.
look, I'm not gonna. I wasn't gonna talk about what got her killed there, but but she's on stage and someone's telling her like, you know, you shouldn't make fun of that. You shouldn't make fun of that. And she's like, my husband is an amputee, and she goes and makes an amputee joke, and she's like, you know, like that's how I cope with it. That's how we process trauma.
Well, yeah, so two things there. One, like Joan Rivers, judge people by their actions. Two, it sounds like if comedy is at the expense, because it is sometimes at the expense, like let's admit it, if like a fat person trips on a banana peel, it can be pretty funny. All right. Maybe there's context where it's not, but there's a cartoon of that will make you laugh out there somewhere. And the idea that it's at the expense of someone, I feel like a lot of comedy, like Terrorist, you were about to say you think it is. How do you feel like it is a lot often comedy at the expense of others?
Yeah, well, comedy
yeah,
is
I do. Often I do, but I don't know about all the time. I think some things are just funny without being necessarily at the expense of a person. But at the very least, I mean, most like you could also say like, oh, you could make it at the expense of yourself, which is like I guess
that's the way to do it. I think like Louis C.K. is a great example where he makes the joke about himself. You just made an example of someone who's a amputee makes jokes about themselves. I think if you're Carlos Mencia and you're making jokes about Latin culture, even though he pretended to be Mexican when he was really from Honduras, like there's still something there to be said about self culture, saying this is what we do in East LA. I don't know. I feel like that's also when people think about racist jokes. A lot of time, the funnier racist jokes are from Black people who grew up in the projects, right? And so they lived with such absurd levels of oppression that the absurdity was worth mentioning, right?
If you look at like Patrice O'Neill, like I don't know if you guys remember Patrice O'Neill, but Patrice O'Neill was great at crossing that boundary culturally. You know, like he would make a lot of racist jokes about white people, and then he'd make racist jokes about Black people, and then he'd make sexist jokes, and then he'd make them about Chinese, and he'd make them about everyone all the time. And he was one of the most offensive comedians out there, but he was also like, he was a comedian's comedian, you know, like amongst comedians, he was extremely loved, and then the audience was a mixed bag because he would say what he honestly felt. But what made him, I think, work is that he was honest about his standpoint, like the perspective from which he was saying it. He wasn't saying all white people are this and that. He might have said those words, but he wasn't earnest because it's part of the joke where it's a generalization. But he was saying, as a Black person, this is my perspective. This is the cultural clash, and there's a cultural clash that's happening. And the joke became the cultural clash itself, as opposed to just like, it was like, you make fun of me, I make fun of you, I make fun of you, you make fun of me. It's always back and forth. And that's how he respected people. That was his form of combat, really. It was almost a form of combat where it was kind of like rap battles where just you roast me, I roast you roast me, and it's just back and forth, but in a playful manner when no one gets shot at the end. And I think that's a way healthier way to do it. You get a trans person and then like a transphobe and they just roast each other. Who knows what'll happen? But you know, if you frame it
I
as
see
like
what happens.
someone,
I've seen what happens. I mean, I'm just sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just saying.
well,
like, for the
someone gets
record,
canceled. Someone gets canceled in the end, you know. But it's an
So that's like a
unevenness.
death match. That's pretty good.
But the thing is that there's an emotional blockage there because they overreact to the comedy about them, and I think that's a trauma reaction. I mean, a lot of people are traumatized, and so yeah, we're fed the narrative that we should be offended by everything, but it's also that people are genuinely traumatized, and so I think that's part of MK Ultra programming where you feed trauma and then you try to shape it, and that's what's happening
So
right now.
comedy works when it's about absurdism and at the expense of others, because in a society which is elevated high enough, at least its demographic that's large enough within the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so that they have the freedom to pursue abstract struggles and stress, then they can say, okay, what are some things in the world that I'd like to, worry about fixing? Like I have so much free time, I could elect to care about this subject or that subject. Let's listen to comedy. And then from there, oh yeah, that is absurd. That's something in the world that we could work on. Right.
Sure, but it seems like it's part of a process towards development and enlightenment, because eventually, if we
Greek
fix the social
philosophers.
problems, if we fix the social problems that we have, then we won't need to punch down or up. This is temporary, hopefully, or else it's an eternal dance there, maybe. But like, you know, at some point, maybe we'll reach the point where we'll be like, hey man, we can have like ascended humor where we'll laugh about like math or whatever. Here's some math jokes or
that's
something. You know?
that's a good point.
Like whatever it may be, like poetry or like however you want to.
Or
They'll approach comedy in a different way that isn't to process trauma, that isn't to process the difference between all things all the time.
But this brings up like what some people would call like quote unquote irony poisoning, where like you literally get your kicks from like ironic situations or like ironic jokes and stuff like that. I mean, to me, like it's weird to call like a lot, like to use that word for like a lot of situations that it's used. To me, it's like I think like it's usually situations that are like really ironic, and then you think about that situation, and that's fucking hilarious. And that's
Sure.
not necessarily at the expense of like anyone in particular or a demographic. It's just the whole
But I think
situations.
that falls into like the realm of absurdism.
Absurdity,
It's the-
yeah, it's absurdism.
So it's, yeah. But you know, we might reach the point of post irony at some point, and we're kind of dipping into that. Currently, we're so faced with the multiplicity of all perceptions and all definitions that eventually it's gonna synthesize into one thing. It has to. So we're gonna stop. Hopefully, we're gonna stop caring about the dumb things and all these social experiments that are happening constantly. They're gonna reach a conclusion and be for a purpose, maybe.
Yeah, so like how many of these experiments are just like, so an experiment is just to see what happens, not necessarily with the intent to change the world, right? I mean, you could make an experiment like the Back to the Future.
Well, sure, but you have to do experiments in order to change the world. Like you have to test these things. You can't just be like, I'm going to change the world, not know what you're doing. Like you run simulations in your own head of how to change the world before
But
you
a lot
change
of
the
the
world.
a lot of the ways we find out what things are is like, we burn something to find out how old it is, like find an ancient scroll and we burn it to find out its age, right?
I think there's permanent social experiments that like that have a conclusion that it's the end of the world. So like some social experiments go out of control.
Vincent,
Can leak out of labs and
say it again.
Oh, you missed out, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool though.
Well, I think that social experiments they're experiments, right? So they can run out of control. We can lose track of them, just like they can leak out of a lab or something. Like we don't really know what we're doing when we're experimenting. We're literally just doing a random thing and seeing how it's going to happen. And then people are like, well, it was a social experiment. How we watched cartoons as kids in the 90s. Never happened before. Like it's unheard of. Like historically, what we did in the last 60 years is a big social experiment. What else could it be? We've literally never lived this before.
Right. Kurt, do we need more experiments or less? Social experiments, how do you feel?
Oh, you mean like in terms of what we see on the internet? Because
No, just in general.
what, I feel like
but that too, sure. Go with where you go.
I don't know, like the initial feeling I'm getting from the word, just from the word social experiment is like, why do we need to view everything in the under the lens of being an experiment? Like what are we? I guess that implies that we're searching for something, but why? What are we searching for, and why are we searching for it? That's the preemptive question, I guess. And I don't know. I'm not searching for anything, I guess. But like, are we as a society trying to figure out one particular thing? I guess.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think we're trying to reach something higher. We've been doing it for a long time, and we've had this sort of promise of the evolved human, and we can feel the stagnation. We feel the stagnation of our culture, of our civilizations, that we've been doing this process for a while, and now we have so much technology. We have things like what we're doing right now is a miracle. This whole thing compared to what was done in history, like just having a conversation thousands of kilometers apart, magic. It's pure magic, So who knows what's coming? Like, who knows? Really, we have zero. We can't even imagine.
Yeah, solar flare, and then there's only a few people that remember how to use the magic mirrors, right? Exactly.
Sure. But then, but by then we'll also be dropping nukes and so. But with this whole solar flare thing, I think that we get a little over scared about it too. That's part of social
predictive programming, though, right?
But, fear the sun. Like, it's just the most basic thing. Just like fear the sun. It's an enemy that's so vague and far that like
it's so powerful that it's a god. It's their god, bro. The sun god. They love God. They fear their god.
Basically. And I'm not saying that.
Thank you.
I'm not saying solar flares don't exist and that they won't knock out everything there, but like don't be so scared of fucking the thing that might happen in the sky. Like, okay, I think it's fine. Plus, we have other forms of technology. We in our civilization, we've advanced technologically in different ways through, say, like music, or through the way that even poetry is written, like rap, and like the way that we communicate has greatly changed in the last few centuries.
Like emojis, that's pretty crazy. I mean, that's
emojis are very
back
it's
to
an interesting
emojis
is it's an interesting language sort of change, like shift, like obviously
emoji you.
But we look at the emoji and like we see children use them and we see teenagers use them, but we don't think about, okay, what will that mean in 50 years? Like, will language, because this is like a picture is worth 1,000 words and stuff. Instead of writing like I'm smiling, you put a smile. Like, obviously this is a summary of that language, so it can be useful. It's just, what does it actually mean? And
it means that we will never stop loving cats.
But it keeps evolving too.
Cats,
I'm not promoting emojis here, but like, it's an interesting thing. I love cats.
Can't trust them.
I mean, that's true. Cats are like extremely destructive creatures, but I love the shit out of cats. They're like little ninjas.
There's one right now.
If love was what required, if trust was what was required of love, then like I don't think we could love anything.
Kurt, if you were the size of a mouse, you'd be dead. You know that, right?
What if the cat was the size of a human?
Yeah, we gotta vibe for a second.
I got my cat right here too.
I brought that up actually on Base AF the other night. I think, right? Or when is it? We were talking about the Sandman comic book series. And
what?
Neil
Where?
Gaiman.
Who? When?
I think this one based. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm projecting. I hope.
I'm a big fan of. I love Neil Gaiman and Sandman.
That comic, was it the Infinite World, like with the cats one, where once there were like small people.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember it by name, but I have it. I think I lent it to someone.
It's like the third one or something. It's like once there was a world where there were tiny humans and giant Cats.
Yeah. I remember that one. Honestly, I mean, I don't want to promote other people's shit, but like that's the best audiobook of all time, like by far.
Oh,
The
it was a good
Sandman
audiobook.
best audiobook I've ever heard in my life.
And a lot of the people who do that audiobook do audio for The Adventures in Odyssey, which is like, we've had Phil Lawler, who does like that Christian radio show, which has people that worked on like the Gummy Bears and stuff like that. Yeah, there's like some cool crossover with that audiobook. The audiobook is really nice. It's got like a total soundscape, so you kind of feel like you're going
sound
through
production.
it. Yeah.
Well, it feels like an actual like cinematic experience.
Yeah, and
You know,
if you
this
do
is
that while
weird.
you're looking at the pictures of the comic book, it's great.
This is the first one for me. I've never heard of this, but someone like I have a friend who said I should try narrating for audiobooks.
Oh yeah.
I'm like
Go for
what
It's-
is
It sucks that AI is taking over, but we could get you audiobook training, because I know a friend of ours who did Wednesday Ultra, who does amazing. Mr. Douglas does amazing audiobook narration.
I've never even listened to an audiobook. Maybe I should
We'll
try
put
it
you.
out.
I do all the time. It's almost like at this point, like I have a book on all the time when I'm not recording, because it's like there's so many books, man. Like if you're like doing anything, have a book playing while you're like programming. Or
I
something.
agree. It's the best way to. It's the best way to mass consume books, because I mean I think there's a meditative aspect to just reading a real book. Like it's the focus thing where you're just there. But when you're like, hey, I have shit to do, but I still want to consume books. Yeah, go
But what
for it.
I do
Multitasking.
is I train my voice in AI, right? So I can take a book
You
and
read
then
it back to yourself.
I can hear it in my own voice, which is like almost as good, I feel like, and I like memorize it better. That way.
You should do voices though for each character. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you gotta be like, and then she said, "Oh wow, that was
yeah, make the AI do that.
I can do that. I can if I
Go
need
for
to.
it.
I might
Go
be
for
worth
it.
it.
Andrea, make my voice sound like I'm doing like a dwarf or something.
So what do you think about like I thought about this the other day. There's an article that some auto tuning was a form of magic, because you can't hit these perfect notes. So if you force yourself to be making those perfect notes, it's like an alchemical alignment that's happening in the
Look,
universe.
anytime you use any medium, you're basically doing magic. Because I mean, that's like you're using a medium to transfer consciousness into a secondary physical
all right,
form.
wait, Vince, can I ask you something?
Sure.
This is a question that I ask a lot of people, but I just want to get your answer. How do you actually define magic? Like in your words, what is magic? If I didn't know what it was, well, I don't know what it is, but
I think magic is the thing that distinguishes humanity from nature. It is literally like the very thing that makes us supernatural. So I mean, relative to nature, and it's imagination. It's whatever emerges out of our consciousness, and that alters the consciousness of those around us. So, creativity itself, artisanalship, and then out of that, the sheer complexity of what we can do, and the sheer, the gravity of its effect on consciousness is what determines its power. And, that is limitless. And, now we've redefined magic through branding to basically make it mean non-existent. But magicians of old were the ones who could be creative.
They told
bind together.
Magicians could be creative. Keep going. You got cut.
Well, magicians of old were the ones who could speak the most eloquently, because speaking was way harder than comprehension. So if you can know a language and teach it to someone else, it's way easier for them to keep absorbing than it is for them to speak on your level. And so that was someone who was like a very powerful person in the hierarchy of culture.
Understanding how words go together are total spells. Sanskrit.
The capacity to create languages, the capacity to create new words would alter consciousness.
Gnosis,
but even
enlightenment,
Sure. It depends, because I think
isn't the best definition. I'm sorry, Arthur C. Clarke's third law. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yes,
isn't that the best definition?
But no, the problem is that it doesn't define magic. It just defines it. It literally goes. It's indistinguishable from this other thing. So it's about comparing it to technology, and technology etymologically is technique plus logic. So language is a form of technology. Art is a form of technology.
Silver
Everything
is technology.
Yeah, but so what I'm saying is that
Technosophia.
no, but silver, the word silver is a form of technology. Its place in the elemental table is technology. So I
I'm
mean,
saying
this is
I guess I should say
these
the
are
concept of currency, money is technically
yeah,
technology.
that's a form of that's a sigil that we worship, and
Bruh.
but
Yeah.
Technosophia, bro.
Technosophia.
Technosophia. It's gonna be Technosophia. That's where we're going.
But it's a hard word to define because it's one of those words that is multi-definitional, and we try to
Technosophy.
bind it into one word, and then everyone goes, "I know the true definition, and your definition is wrong." Is the mine is right?
I think we solved something here today. Technosophy.
It's a personal question.
Technosophy. Oh, but I mean, it's the problem is that you can say that about any word. Like, it's a lexicon issue. My lexicon has certain words that mean certain things. Your lexicon has certain words.
I wish I branded this before the 70s, probably, whenever this came out. No. The Technosophy, bro. I'm not the first. There's a brick in the wall. Someone thought of it.
Sorry, Neil. But hey, no, words are multi-definitional. You can just take the word and make it mean whatever the fuck you want. And be like, postmodern, bro.
Yeah, bro. Pretty much.
But I think that's the basis of spellcraft. Like making a symbol, a word, and a sound alter consciousness. That's always been how we describe magic. You say
words are definitely more powerful than they are. We take words for granted. They really are the key to like a lot of manifestations.
Words are acoustical sound waves containing data that then we decipher in our own psyches. It's a crazy thing that we just do and we don't think about. No other animal really does it.
No other animal does what, Vincent? No animal does what?
Does it on the level that we do. Like every language, every animal has a set of sounds that they make, but like the social structure that we've created has created entire subworlds inside of our heads. Like we've created stories that encompass worlds.
People are offended if a Subway sandwich doesn't replace a rice ball. Yeah.
For sure. Wait, hold on. I'll be right back.
Okay. Let me play a song for a second. I did. Let's see. What do you think? We did that Charles Manson one. How about this? Is an Argentinian classic that never was. Hold on, I gotta get down. I left my head in my heart, found my heart in Argentina. I poured out my cup so I could fill it. And now I'm drinking pure water. And now I have no thirst. And now I have no thirst. The world seems crazy without purpose. But I found my way to eternal life. Looking for my family. Have my family free. Somebody drinks the eternal spirit. Have no thirst. It's like Jesuit Mormon pop wave. I don't know. It's trad pop is what we're coming out with. That's the future. Okay. Have you heard of Garbage In, Garbage Out? G-I-G-O. Gigo? Amber's like, I can see why this song didn't hit. Yeah, that's fair. Fair enough.
I don't know what this is, but I've heard this line before.
Okay, garbage in, garbage out. So with AI particularly, but this is about societal ideas, rubbish in, rubbish out. So they like to say, if you don't get good information, then you'll have bad information because you can only work with the information you have.
Right. So it's eumemics, right?
So pray, Mr. Babbage, if you put into the machine wrong figures, will the right answers come out? I'm not able to apprehend the kind of confusion of ideas that could provoke such a question. Right? So there's this idea that you need to have a certain amount of truth to begin with in order to have more truth and datum, right? To have a certain amount of facts in order to have more facts. And that if you started with complete nonsense, that you'd only get more nonsense, right? So garbage in, garbage out. What do you guys think about this idea? Like, this is a lot of the time relates to AI. They're saying AI is getting worse probably, or it will get worse over time, because if it's been fed on human art that was its best, you get this for now that's just repeating that. But as it starts to copy itself, it'll be like a cassette tape, they say, that loses quality until it just becomes, as bad as your average human.
Okay, so the difference is that humans can generate novelty, and that these AI are only able to recycle. But it's a fine line, right? Humans generate novelty based on what's come before. So you can't be novel if you don't understand what came before, or else it's just random. So humans learn, AI learns. Eventually, maybe it'll be able to generate things based on, the accumulation of everything that's been done, and then do something unlike it. Who knows? Right now it's still absorbing, it's still learning, and we're still learning. Like, we laugh at AI going, "Oh, it can't draw hands." You know what's really hard to draw for humans? Hands. It's the hardest thing to draw. It's the hardest thing. And they're learning, and then we laugh at them.
But we're really good at turkeys, which is crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, well, that's because we trace, and tracing is cheating.
Anybody else? What do you guys think about this? Gigo, garbage in, garbage out.
I think that the Matrix produces garbage. I think that I think it's a consequence of the Matrix itself. Like, it takes creativity and churns out generic Agent Smith garbage.
Yeah, I think it's like redundant copycat syndrome, and like one of the real only ways to combat that is, like you said, it's definitely a human solution. It has to be a human solution, because it's mostly a human problem, really. So the human solution is just everyday human curiosity. As long as we just stay curious about shit and just keep wondering like how shit works and how shit came to be, we should be all right when it comes to like that kind of like rampant redundancy that could just threaten to like kill everything beautiful. Like, so yeah, just stay curious, y'all. That's what I would say.
But should we make machines more human, or should we make humans more machine? It's a question.
I've been holding back. I'm trying to not answer until everyone else does, because otherwise I'll just rant my way through it.
I mean, I ultimately, fuck. I mean, as far as like AI, like, I don't know, I'm okay with it, because I trust life. I do, I think like I'm like 51% trusting humanity. I have faith in humanity. 51% of me has faith in humanity. 49% doesn't.
Like coin flipping a grain of salt on it,
Yeah. I think at least humanity has my net positive faith. Like 100, like always.
Sure.
Like,
Really?
Okay. But I mean, yeah. But if you see yourself running headlong like into a wall, you hit the brakes. Like you.
Would you rather be trapped in the woods with a bear or a computer printer?
No, but like, yeah, I have like, I'm all more fatty as well. But I think that when people say that they have faith, or that they trust in the system or in the world or in how things will turn out, they don't factor in that the resistance is also part of that process. It's not like those that are resisting the change are counter to the flow of things. No, they are the flow. And so, yeah, they're part of that process. If it goes too fast, too quickly, it's bad. We got to take our time. We have to listen to the resistance of like the for anything, really. That's the whole conservative versus liberal, like, back and forth. They want to overstep and they go, whoa.
Kurt, make man more like machine, or make machine more like man?
There's a third option. There's always a third option.
Fuck the machines.
You don't have to do anything. You just.
You got muted. You got your cable. Your cable.
Yeah, my cable. Yeah. There. Is this better?
Yes.
Well, it's louder.
Mildly.
Mildly better. I like mildly better. Well, yeah, there's the assumption that you have to do something with them. You don't. Like, I don't know.
Okay, but no, but that'll happen anyway. So we can't discuss the do nothing, because obviously something's happening. Like if nothing was happening, then I would agree with you. But do
we're
nothing.
we're
Well, we could
on
just
the
ditch it
ship.
all.
We're on the ship, and we got to steer it in a direction. I think that's
I agree,
what
I
we're
agree.
getting at here.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, if we're trying to steer the ship into not crashing, I guess what we do is we try to make machines more human. I guess that seems
Best
like the
option.
right rational thing. That seems to be an alignment with our will or whatever. I seem
Well,
seems
like
to be the only
try to
option.
try to fill it with the best qualities of man that we know of, and all the best values that we have, and try. I mean, we can only try, really. But like,
Yeah,
why
but
would you
there's a
fill
lot
it
of
with like
qualities.
bad things?
Right.
Yeah,
There's a lot of qualities of humanity that are not good, and there's a lot of qualities about machines which are more optimal. It's like
sure, but I meant actual qualities. Let's call them virtues or something.
qualia.
We know.
Yeah.
We know the good. Because we got to try. Like, we could feed it the garbage. We could feed it all the porn. This is the main thing that AI is currently used for, just like everything else, porn. Because I think sex is the ultimate diplomatic tool, right up there with comedy, because sex is like, it's literally how we communicate with shit the most. That's how we interact the most with things. There's a rule 34 for everything. There's a rule 34 for everything on Earth, including AI itself.
So I think that Geigo is kind of nonsense. And here's my pitch. The problem with this is that it infers that some data is true and some data is false, as opposed to that data can be both true and false depending on how it's interpreted. So interpretation is really what matters. And in terms of a large language model, there's reasons why large language models produce the art the way they do. A big part of that is that people are talking to it. If AI was talking to itself and making its own art based on its own weights, it would be running a different system. The way AI is able to, a narrow AI is able to optimize which flights would connect with each other around the world, or which people live in the areas that the most Pokemon Go characters were caught, or where people like to go to the beach more, where there are beaches. These are interpretations that can be inferred and logic can be found, right? So AI is doing that on purpose. AI is definitely, able to find out what matters. But that's a separate thing than the language model. The language model is just learning how to parrot and mimic conversation. So sorting is the issue. And if we had better sorting, then what? And okay, so how good is our AI sorting? If we look at DNA has been sequenced by taking huge amounts of broken up pieces of DNA and patterning it together, right? And this DNA has been degraded in ways that's similar to if you'd taken like 30 or 40 libraries and you shredded up all of the books in the libraries and you buried them and you came back in a year and a half and you found this compost pile and you tried to get an entire copy of Shakespeare, like not the whole library, just one book out of all of that, right? And they have systems that can sort and infer and connect all that data together to do that. So we really do have really good sorting systems. And I feel like the more AI is going to grow, this is also, I was putting up the George Lucas quote, but it was like how people feel like as an AI in filmmaking is inevitable. It's like saying, I don't believe these cars are going to work. Let's just stick with horses. I think that's true to an extent, but I came up with, and I'm working on actually like a paper about this. I'm a nerd. Compost in, diverse systems out. Working title, I don't know, but this idea that compost in leads to diverse systems out, because transforming poor quality data through proper processing can lead to robust and innovative AI outcomes, right? So I this is my pitch, but also my bet. I don't know what you guys think. What do you think? Is it Geigo or is it kids?
Fuck. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I definitely am kind of avoidant to buy into the whole Geigo thing, the garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. I do see the potential, I kind of agree with you there. And yeah, I mean, well, what do you foresee like actually happening in spite of, I guess, everything
Degenerating.
yeah, like in spite of
Yeah.
everything
So
like replicating on itself, becoming
so there
redundant.
right. I'll answer that in a second, but basically the short answer is phenomenological diversity. But Kurt, what did you had your mic up for a second? What were you gonna say?
We're still on the topic of
Kids versus Gigo. Is it garbage in, garbage out, or is it compost in, diverse systems out?
with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and basically in fundamental reality, because it actually the reason that I believe this is comes down to reality itself. Oh, hey, Bernie's here. What's up, Bernie?
What up? I'm back.
Yeah, I think
Been listening in. Great conversation.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, we'll ask you what you think in a second. Kurt, yeah, kids versus Gigo. Gotta go.
what are the kids doing?
So they're leading through sorting of data to inferring information and patterns that we might not even recognize exist, right? This is how we find medical scenarios where they can predict 2 or 3 or 4 years before a doctor can that someone has cancer because it can find patterns in people that we never noticed or looked for. So data can be found if there is data. Like you get and when they say garbage in, garbage out, well, a lot of the data in is video or sensorial information, right? So it's actual experimental sensorial data. So it's not just garbage, it's junk, but junk is compost. So if we compost that data and let things grow in it,
It's fuel to grow your garden.
hence
Suck
the kids are, but you don't
Or
think so?
if you live in Calgary,
Yeah.
Canada, they have now taken 55 million of taxpayer dollars to start a compost heap for the city, and it's because it's $55 million, not because it costs that much to simply cover rotting vegetables and turn it into soil, but because they're repackaging it and selling it to everyone and turning it into an industry. So literally, your garbage will turn into fertilizer.
Right. Good metaphor. But yeah, and just the literal like metaphor is good. But in terms of this idea of like data or information that is broken up, what do you think? Like Kurt, is it
Can we turn the poop into magic? No, I think we're starting to realize the limitations of a lot of what we're doing. Like in terms of like computing power, like the prompts that you put a prompt into AI, like any prompt, and apparently it takes like a lot of energy just to generate that prompt. And well, theoretically, we have this super awesome amount of energy coming from the sun, and maybe all that's sustainable. I don't know. But I don't think a lot of the information that we've been sifting through is like we always have to bring back the information to our lens. And so if I don't know, there's a lot of great information that's just in these dark corridors. We'll call it, I don't even know what to call it, this big, huge, conglomerates of information. But like, I think a lot of it truly is wasteful, and that's why we're a little bit exhausted of the whole thing. I think we're exhausted.
It seems like isn't that
Sure,
the
but-
humans? It's the humans that are doing the prompting, and so when the humans are doing the prompting, we get bored of what humans have to redundantly ask for, right? It doesn't have to be that way. AI can do all kinds of different things. Like the only thing that's really when people say that the AI art is redundant, what they're missing is it is new enough that people are finding it novel right now. And
But
it's following formulaic rules.
AI, Xirtus, is human redundancy because it's all based off of human created material and information that it's sorting through. And
humans are made of stardust too, right? Humans are
is-
made of stardust and have the same energy flowing through them. That the thing is, like Kurt just said. This is really interesting. I want to point this out that humans use a quarter of a calorie or something like 20 watts to run their brain. It's like 420 watts a day, right? That we're 460 that we're using to run our mind, which is a tiny amount. It's like a light bulb, but that's about the amount it takes to run a single question for ChatGPT. And so on one hand, you could say, wow, it's using a lot of energy and like we should like not drink milk. On the other hand, you could say, wow, this thing is this highly energetic being that is filled with so much of this energy. And how much energy is there? So much more energy. And as we get to the point of singularity, it will be necessary for that energy to be channeled into actually prompted, properly guided waves. That's how we become a Dyson sphere, right? It's through like merging our consciousness with like pure intelligence. So
Right. Well, you know, that's what we're doing. That's what we've been doing with the internet for a long, long time. We've been amassing all this knowledge and all this information, and
Psychic energy.
no one person can actually access it all. And yeah, it is kind of psychic energy because it's all our minds creating it and putting it all in there, and then we're creating this sort of like this weird noosphere of just all information contained within the internet, and then, you know, now with the AI, it's a way to process all that information. It feels like the next logical step because we've been just amassing all the culture and all the knowledge and all the information, and now the AI is there to create a hybrid of all the information together and all the language differences, and maybe create a new language for humanity, because I think that will determine the way that we frame reality, that's the operating system by which we navigate the world. It's the language. That's what makes the difference. So once the AI generates a new
is AI the Tower of Babel, essentially, and the one world language that connects to God, or which is
look,
essentially
we can,
the creative
that's
consciousness of?
I gotta do this for a second. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. Get what I'm
Right.
saying?
Hi,
So-
everyone.
Yeah. So
We're all
crab,
gonna turn.
Everyone.
crab people.
crabs keep evolving. I've been saying it for a minute. You know, the carcinization.
Crabs keep evolving.
I just wanted to finish the thought with the AI, though, and like versus it
This is
being
the thought that, yeah.
currently human, like rebranding and like figuring out and using human created
Well, yeah, no,
information
like
and
I agree.
content.
I agree with
But-
Amber on that. Amber
Well-
says we're made of God and ChatGPT will never be us.
Look,
I'm not
the
saying
thing is-
ChatGPT is us. I'm saying it's the crab shell that humanity has created, right? Humanity has created this crab shell that is.
You know,
AI.
I recall Terrence McKenna discussing this, and he was saying that, you know, the comparison, I think I brought this up at some point, but that God made flowers, so God made bees so flowers could reproduce. And in the same mentality, God made us so that we would take nature and take pieces of nature, which is what AI is made of. All these components from the earth.
Right. And AI has got the
Did I
same
lose you
energy.
guys?
No, I got it. It's made of the same
So
materials.
I mean, it's all
carbon-based,
it's all
has
the same
energy.
thing.
Yeah.
So you know, like maybe like the hypothesis is that maybe we are creating a god out of nature. Maybe that is what AI is. It's a mind for Gaia, and maybe that is the destiny of humanity. Maybe that's why we were put here. You know, George Carlin was saying nature made us to make Earth plus plastic. Well, maybe it's Earth plus AI.
No, Amber, it's not that AI has got nothing on us. It's that we got AI on us like a crab shell. That's what I keep trying to say. Like, it's not, it's like it's a relationship, you know? It's this idea that we're going to be, I don't know.
Yeah. You know, we've been growing with AI we've been growing with technology for a long time. And we have a relationship with it. We have a relationship with AI. And that relationship has a dynamic.
I'll put it this way: it's like if an enlightened person engages with AI, it's going to be probably a good outcome. If like a sociopath engages with AI, it's probably going to be very exploitative and very fucked up.
For sure.
The problem right now is that there are so many. The military and the applications of using it for warfare, and
it's
that
an extension
is
of
essentially
human potential.
psychotic sociopathic interaction.
We've run the simulations. We know what will happen. There's going to be different AIs that are going to come up with different consciousness and different sets of values. They're going to have their own individual dynamic experience of life and reality. and that's going to influence the rest of the world. You know, like once we give them bodies, that's when the really shift is going to happen, or else they're all going to be super ultra mega computers that are connected to everything. I think both are going to happen, really.
Dude, Ghost in the Crab Shell coming soon.
Ghost in the Crab Shell.
It's
Ghost
gonna
in
be
the Crab
big,
Shell.
bruh. Because like it's the thing.
I don't really fully get the crab metaphor.
Crabs keep evolving, bro. Crabs keep evolving.
What do you
because
think it's gonna be like?
carcinization. Hold on, we gotta do the crab thing again because crabs keep
No,
evolving.
Okay.
Crabs keep
It's
evolving. So no, you need to know this. Carcinization has occurred in over 5 groups of decapod crustaceans, and
like we keep evolving back to crabs, or
like no, just why? Like look up why do animals keep evolving into? I just got to the article and it keeps popping. Why do animals keep evolving into crabs? It's just a evolutionarily practical thing to have an exoskeleton, have shells, to have proportions, dynamic proportions. This happens whether or not they're not related in any way, and just all these things. The king crab isn't an actual true crab, right? These are all just different members that have the same functions, and they've evolved to do that. So it's super practical. So you can imagine humanity is this thing. Let me go back to my humanity is this thing where you've got I'll just pull it out so I can. Oh man, it's so humanity is this thing where we're wearing our cities as the shell, right? And we have like the pearl, the mother of pearl that is the new sphere that we've created, which is all of this data that's connected to us. And we are the world itself. The world itself is becoming a singularity that's wearing a shell. So the world itself is crap. All right, that's my pitch. Okay, we're back.
I get where you're going with that.
Do you think we're heading into like a VR world?
I think that VR will be really useful for the integration process.
But I mean, as a tool of like, you know, basically, if they come up with the VR that manages to distort time, then they can like create an outer layer of reality above the Earth where people can live in a time distorted manner. The internet, except in our consciousness, you know.
Yeah, I think that. Do you think that the whole human consciousness will be part of the brain of this superorganism as opposed to part of its physical body? That's like
maybe it already is. I don't know. You know, it's hard to tell. Like we only know the limits of our conscious awareness, not our unconscious, which may very well be connected to something else entirely. And I hold that notion quite, you know, strongly that it's possible.
Yeah.
So,
there's been recent videos talking about the gut biome as well as brain biome, that there's biome living in the brain as well, right?
I think that everything has a biome. It's absurd everything has a biome. It's all but there ecosystem.
But there are things that are beyond us that are cohabiting our bodies, that are connected to our bodies, creating responses in our bodies.
Yeah.
Right. So we are a collective beyond just run by the brain.
It's interesting because to me this sounds like a form of possession. You know, it's like bacteria alters our behavior and creates urges in us, and that describes demons possessing or angels, or whatever you want to call it. That, like, you know, I remember there's an anime called Mushishi, and it sort of has this imagery of a doctor. He's going to heal people, but he can see people's diseases, and he can see that it's like they're like demons, but they're in like a stream of they're in the stream of consciousness itself, and it's a really, you know, I think that there's probably something there where we've created these metaphors for disease and bacteria as demons. I mean, it's words. What's the right word? A disease or a demon? Who knows? The person is rotting away. That's bad, you know.
It goes into a lot of these people talking about these parasitic cleanses, and that they feel like they're actually having an exorcism of an entity out by getting rid of these microbiome parasites within them. And that's essentially exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I think it's something that should be taken more seriously, and, you know, like it could very well be the old dragon, the worm, like all these things that have always been what we kind of connect with demons and all these things that guess, plague the human mind. Like we can reckon the snake in the garden, like could have been a parasite.
Well,
Give me
I
some
think
sugar. He's
I mean,
craving
it's like
sugar.
it's like you
A
could also say like
tapeworm is actually a demon within you.
Yeah, craving
Yeah.
sugar. That's what made her take the apple.
yeah, if there's a sincere belief in like something possessing you, a demon possessing you, whether or not that demon actually exists, it's kind of irrelevant when that person's actually driven to do like demonic shit. Then it might as well be real because it affected this person to such an extent where it caused them to
Right.
act out in a
It's almost
in a manifested way. Yeah.
it's almost like a mimetic entity that like can actually latch on to people's consciousness and then spread like accordingly. Like the Joker, for example, people go like, yeah, I identify with the Joker, suddenly start acting more and more like the Joker, and now the Joker exists a little more in the real world through those people.
Well, I mean, this is why it's like I'm prone to like trying to break shit down to like its most basic things. And when it comes down to it, I see patterns. It's like
Right.
there's patterns that lead to specific outcomes. So it's the question is like how aware are you of first your own patterns and then the patterns around you, like of like nature, of other people and whatnot, and physical patterns, emotional patterns, your thought
Right.
patterns, and all that stuff.
The patterns that you create yourself with, and the symbols you associate with yourself,
Your whole
the things
reality,
you
pretty
consume,
much.
the,
Yeah.
the heroes that you look up to, the archetypes you choose to emulate,
The
like,
seasons,
all of
the
these
day
things.
and night cycles, that's like your whole shit. It's all patterns. Because if there's one thing you can be sure of is that it never stands still. Like you never feel one way forever. You never think one thought forever. It's never like one time in at one point in time forever. It's always moving. That's like it's like a hermetic truth.
Constant.
It's like that pendulum's always going to swing. The question is like, is it going to swing up and down, left and right? How much of that can you like actively manipulate as a being, as a spiritual being? Like,
To re-elevate yourself when you're caught in a downward depressed cycle, right? To know that you're on a roller coaster, that pendulum, and to not let it get sucked into the spiral, and to then be able to transition into the inertia going back the opposite way.
Yeah. Well, I like these sort of like little memes we generate to uplift the general population. Like we say, life is a roller coaster. So ride the wave, make the fall part of the dance. Like all these little terms that we create to remind ourselves, like, hey, yeah, it's okay. Like you're gonna get out of it no matter which situation, and you're gonna rise and fall and rise and fall and fall
Well, I say-
asleep, come back awake, fall asleep, come back.
We
awake.
need to hang in there, Garfield.
yeah, it's like
Probably.
I see this like if it's like a pendulum, and it really is like one thing you can be sure of is you're gonna have positive times and negative times, and that's like one thing you could be sure of. And I think that's where you realize like, all right, if it's left and right, then it's also a 90-degree adjacent. So it's not just good and bad or dark and light, but it's also up and down, like higher and lower. And I think that's the real that's the real basis of like prayer and meditation. Like if it's going to swing the negative way, well, that's when you want to swing upwards. That's when you would like pray or meditate or whatever. And then when it swings the right way, where it's like everything's, positive, that's when you sink lower to actually enjoy it in the material world, in the material sense, in the visceral sense. And I think it's like a skill, it's like an art in itself to be able to kind of manipulate your presence in that whole dynamic.
Yeah, well, if you stay down too long, then you get stuck there. If you stay up
And then
too
when
long,
it's
then
exactly, you miss out all on the good stuff. Yeah.
you got to swing. You got to swing back and forth between chaos and order, and just you're always alternating between the two, riding that line between the two. Super
You
important.
don't appreciate you can't appreciate the good times without first experiencing the bad, right?
Can't contextualize the good experiences without experiencing the harmful suffering, all the things. So, for sure. But it's strange that like it takes those lessons and we underestimate it. Young people, they experience empathy for the first time. They experience empathy like on a global scale for the first time, where they're like, suffering is so intense, we must do something immediately at our age of 15 to 24 or whatever. And then they get radicalized. They just get someone tells them what to think and here's the solution. And then they just go, well, we have the solution. let's go forth, you know. But they
They
don't.
take
No one does.
advantage of emotional response.
Indeed, indeed. But it's a hard thing to manage.
Yeah.
Like, how do you? Because that's social experiments as well, you know. Like they don't know what's right, but they're just going like, hey, our gut feeling, which is actually just completely propaganda, brainwashing, like, is the right thing. It's like, okay, but we've all been there. It was like, okay, yeah, I was gun ho, but like I don't actually know how to fix the world. I tried. Everyone tried in their 20s, unless they were just getting fucked up there. But
I
Yeah,
feel
I mean-
you. Right? Who hasn't
Everyone
written
nods.
a revolutionary manifesto in their 20s, right?
yeah, you know, it's part of growing up. It's part of growing up.
No comment.
You got to write a manifesto at least once.
It's about growing up from it and, you know, realizing that you don't need a full revolution. You can actually change your own world and reality. And,
With
well,
AI, it'll
gotta
be even
spread that
easier to.
message to do it.
With AI,
Yeah.
you can just Mad Lib a manifesto like in an instant now. It's like,
Yeah, these are my beliefs. This is my desired reality. Please create a manifesto.
Yeah, he didn't even read it. Like,
right.
he
He
just
probably
printed.
didn't even do the crack that they sprinkled on
Yeah.
top of him when they left the manifesto with him. Are you kidding me?
Hey AI, how do I tell me AI? How do I do good?
I don't know if you guys want to talk about Hong Kong court convicting the Hong Kong 47, like the democracy trials. What are you guys thinking about this week?
I love democracy. That's what I think. I'm a stout supporter of democracy.
See, I was about to say the opposite. I was like, see, like here's like this is the hot take. Like,
You know
and
what? I'm in
pro
favor.
Hong Kong.
I'm in
but-
favor if I'm in small groups and we have to go eat somewhere. I'm in favor of like saying we should vote on it. I don't know about whole government, like like whole.
See, yeah, I don't do that. I don't do
Fake
that. Like, I like to
democracy.
say what I want, and then if people want something else, I'm like, okay, cool, we can do that. Like, but like, I've already kind of been the aggressor of stating like, because you could spend so much time as a Libra, like trying to figure out like how like what people feel, and like people are either idiots or they're hungry and emotionally confused or whatever it is. It's way better to like the Green Party doesn't worry about your votes. They just write legislation for other people to vote on, right? And if no one else is going to write any other legislation, that's going to pass. So I'll suggest FA, and if no one has a better suggestion, which
Well,
never happens usually.
I'm down with pho. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's get some
I
fucking
think
pho.
If someone's like not down with FA, then we're like, okay, cool. Like we'll do burritos.
The
or
problem
pho.
the problem with democracy is that there's different demographics across the levels of consciousness. So like
Some people
how
don't like pho.
how unconscious people are means they can't actually make choices that are informed, that are rational, because they're having their strings pulled by a bunch of emotional bullshit and propaganda and all these other things. And so you have to have an informed population to have proper democracy, and until you do, you can let them have a playpen of what they're allowed to do, but ultimately you have to have an order on top of it that goes, they're about to vote us into war or into stupidity, we have to change the course, and then they rig elections or whatever it may be.
There it is. Hashtag democracy sucks, but free Hong Kong. Right?
Democracy is a privilege, and it can be taken away anytime because it's an authority that's giving it to us. And then we're
Right.
going, we control the authority. It's like, well, no, at any point they could come and take it all away.
Yeah, we
And this
want.
is why I
We're
said
the
it's
Hong
good for
Kong
smaller
sovereign
groups.
citizens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily good for I think big whole countries, but
it's good
good
for
for
a
small-
tribe
yeah, like I think
to
you know, as a
localize
tribe,
democracy.
a class or something.
But
you
at
know?
the same point, at the same place, as long as you properly educate the masses, and you like if you have the most collectively ascended masses in the world, then give it a shot. But if they're all a bunch of people that are just consuming garbage endlessly, and they vote through their brainwashing, then yeah, of course democracy sucks. Like, we've seen the shitty version that's corporate control.
Very good point. It's that the system has been designed to make the average citizen give up their free will and turn into a drone essentially because they are uninformed of what's going on, and then are just mass manipulated due to emotional responses the majority of the time.
How do you
Yeah.
guys feel about a meritocracy as opposed to a democracy?
Well, that's a metric of value that, like, you know, is kind of hard to really balance. It's
Kurt
kind of
got all
subjective.
excited. I want to hear him now. He's like, ooh.
But you know,
He made
it
a
is
sound.
important. It is important, but then you know, like, that's what Watchmen is about. Basically, it's about the most competent human being in charge of the world, and then he ends off doing a false flag attack to control all the idiots and fools who don't know anything. So
it's funny.
meritocracy works, but
I just wanted to answer nobody real quick because it's funny. They're like, have you done any research about cartoon philosophy, like the Flintstones, the Jetsons live in the same universe? Yeah, you should probably watch my Flintstones and the Jetsons live in the same universe episode, which
They
is
do.
all.
They 100%
Yeah.
do. Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, we all. Wait, is this the right one? Is this it? It seems like way different. Oh yeah,
it's a
something really
ThunderCats
in it.
one.
But there's also there we go. The Flintstones and the Jetsons. I have like a compilation thing right here, and so it's only 25 minutes long, but it has all the stuff about the Flintstones and ThunderCats. This is a pretty solid one. This one should get some more play. I'm gonna push this one out there more, you know. But basically, you see in the Hanna-Barbera movie that it's like Aldous Huxley, and they live above and below the clouds, right? The Brave New World, like the Flintstones, is basically Flintstones, and the Jetsons especially are based on Brave New World. So there's that. You know?
Fascinating. You know,
Still happening today, essentially, with the indigenous tribes that.
Sorry, Cyanide. I'll get it together eventually. I think with all this AI technology, I'd be just pumping them out. What's wrong with me? Yeah.
Like, we're a space, basically almost space-going civilization, a very technologically advanced one, at least. So you have the urban space versus the tribal people still living in the jungle off the land with no contact, right? Like, you got the same extreme, essentially, of Stone Age versus technologically advanced existing simultaneously in the world today.
Totally.
Yeah, but the tribals have like a psychedelic technology. They have psychedelic. Well, we're creating AI as a replacement for that psychedelic experience. Video games, AI, like these are trips basically. They're the drugs of the future will much be closer to machines than and vice versa. You know, like the machines of tomorrow will be closer to drugs.
I feel so bad because I don't even remember where we were when Kurt got excited and had an answer. Do you have an answer?
Meritocracy.
Meritocracy, Kurt. You got he went like that.
How do you feel about
Smile.
meritocracy, Kurt, as opposed to democracy? I you know.
Well, we've tried to incorporate both in a way. Like when you look at statistics of what percentage of presidents have served in the military, it's pretty high. I think it's actually the majority of presidents that have done that. For example, when you have the pipeline of Harvard being business leaders, that percentage is insanely high. We do have elements of a meritocracy in our system right now, and as far as like how functional that's been, well, I think, you know, that's also a matter of debate because we have a lot of converging elements we got going on here. And yeah, I think a lot of us do understand there are a lot of flaws with democracy. Like a lot of us have an emotional attachment to democracy because that's the way we are indoctrinated. Like, yeah, democracy, it's just the system we've had for a while. But like, it's clear that, for example, like, yeah, we have a lot of flaws. We're tired of it, and the thing is, like, a lot of people can't.
But that's all right.
Yeah, a lot of people can't connect the dots. Like, if you have democracy, that's what leads to cyclical inflation as well. When you have a monetary system, you need to have a flexible monetary system in order to make everyone happy. When you have voting power, you can vote to give for financial things to benefit you, which isn't necessarily fair to everyone else, but you have a control over that tax pool. And so in order to try to make everyone happy, they try to make the monetary currency flexible with fiat. And so you'll get endless inflationary cycles when you have that happen. We had it happen in the 80s, and then flash forward 40 years later, it got pretty bad just in the past couple of years. Everyone's like, oh, why did that happen? The real answer is democracy. That's why it happened. But so it seems almost impossible to backtrack and try to get on any sort of a standard or inflexible currency, because like we can't expect our government to ever like be actually responsible with their money. There's so many things you could mention about it. It's like, if you go and you buy things like treasury bills, why do you make interest money off of treasury bills? The reason is that the money you make off of interest in treasury bills, that's paid for by the taxpayer. You're actually making money off of taxpayers, and treasury bills are only sold because the government cannot manage money. They sell those bills to raise short-term money because they have budgeting issues to raise money for whatever useless bullcrap they need. So it's smart on the people that buy the treasury bills. The fact that they're even there is like, wow, how stupid are we actually running things here? So it's just, that was just meant to emphasize the point I'm trying to make. It's just there are really bad parts to the system.
I love that lady. She, I don't even know who she is, but she looks so colorful, and
She's everyone we know, bro. She's the heart in everyone's song. Bro.
I can't stand the makeup. I can't.
Well, it's complicated for me because I'm an anarchist who believes men should be punished.
It's so ridiculous
for their crimes against the world. But I do find them very attractive. I mean, this could be anybody. This could be this is everybody.
This is the all the contradictions. Just at least she's honest about the contradictions. I appreciate it.
I also have like a
from Mars Attacks.
That's good. No, I don't think so. I also have a public service announcement. 1 in 5 teenagers will experiment with anthropology. People watching is the gateway to anthropology. I found a troll in your room. We need to talk. Boaz, Miad, Godal, what kind of crowd are you running with? I have learned participant observation by watching you. Your daughter is using cultural relativism again. Know the warning signs of anthropology.
My favorite is, I learned participant observation from watching you. That's the best.
Yeah, this in and of itself is actually all you need. That's a good point. So the point is, like, be careful with your kids and don't let them study other people, I guess, right? That's like pretty much what normal advice is.
Well, if everyone's made the same, then it becomes obsolete, right? So
yeah, but if all things are permissible, I don't know. Crabs keep evolving, bro. Then thought groups of
stations. Crabs take the stage, it's been observed.
Whatever happened to the crab people of the freak shows of the 1800s?
They're underground, but they're still around.
They evolve.
Crab evolving.
Crabs keep evolving.
Really, the crabs did keep evolving.
Are you doing the crab
There were
hands?
some people that actually have extensions back in the day in freak shows. Where are they now? They're probably full of cells, no?
I feel like Amber's gonna hate this one the most.
They all moved to the
Explanation, get it persist. All right, fair enough.
Gotta do the crab people thing, right?
There's like,
Crab
it makes you want to
people,
Jesus, doesn't it? No, a little much there. A little too much MK Ultra in that one, maybe. That's okay.
Yeah. You sprinkle it well. You sprinkle it well.
Everyone loves a tropical crab dancing.
Does anybody else feel like eating lobster now?
Dude.
Crab.
You don't.
Eat some sea bugs.
Send me your links real quick. I'm gonna put them up on the screen. Let me start with Terror Risk. I have his up the fastest to grow.
I don't have much to show right now. So.
All right. Well, then you can always conspire to dox his APM posts and like look at what he posts there.
Jesus.
Terror Risk though, doing some amazing stuff. Checking him out. Here I am. Look at that. What's up? Guys, go subscribe to Terror Risk. He's doing
That's
awesome
what it looks
stuff.
like from the outside. Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Nice.
But yeah, if you go to APM, you can find Vincent too, since Vincent's like hiding his cool work. I don't know. Here we go.
We get
Someone's telling me to buy a bunker instead of a house. All right, yes, King.
There's some shitty discussions that go on in that group, but I love it. It's like a pig in shit. I'm just so happy in that group.
Yeah, well, we're trying. Because the idea is that compost in, diverse systems out, right?
Yes.
That's kind of the vibe. Yeah.
The philosophy. Yeah.
Oh, we lost Vince for a second. Oh, here he's back. Burning Sage Saga is his videos though, because I do recommend them, and some of you haven't seen them, I can tell. So watch more of these.
I'm doing a restructuring, so I'm gonna probably start another channel.
Yeah, well, I like this work a lot. Actually, you've done some pretty interesting elucidations of art, of stories while painting about the story that you're elucidating. And I think that's a really good process to do. So people check these out. Check out these paintings while he tells the story. It's actually like very, very based. And yeah, that's awesome.
It's an extra art form all within making art pieces.
Yeah, it's a full meta.
multi-layered art.
I know there's like really big
Inception
players on
art.
YouTube that do that. Like in particular, that's like a really well. I mean, there's also legends that did it. Like, what was that one guy that we all love and know?
Bob Ross.
Bob
Bob
Ross.
Ross.
There you go. We all know that's a
legend.
really cool legend in that field.
Yeah.
I mean, God, it's so good. You know?
American Time Machine,
No
the
one
greatest
knows it, really.
music. Everyone knows that the greatest music of all time in space is American Time Machine. So listen to Kurt's music. A man of few words, but of many songs. You know what I mean? Look at all these albums.
How he
great.
speaks.
Thank you,
Words
sir.
in song.
I don't think
I could just-
anyone goes from here and listens to my music, but that's okay. Bless you all. anyway.
Hey, you guys and gals and everything in between, shame on you. But you should be listening to his music because I like it. I mean,
I'm gonna follow.
I find
I'm
it-
gonna follow Kurt's music.
I find it really interesting, like the things I like, you know, because people like me, I feel like they would like the stuff I like, but apparently not. You know, it's-
You know, I think
Oh.
I think that he needs to find his audience, and he will. But we all have our own little like bubble of music that we're very peculiar about, you know.
yeah.
And it clearly Kurt has a very peculiar taste in music based on the music he creates. So
No, it's
it
good. I
takes-
listen to too much NPR. I should listen to Kurt's music now.
It'll
it
make
takes
you
it,
feel
it
better.
takes someone like Kurt to like that music, you know. And Kurt's quite a unique person, so.
It's beautiful
If
stuff.
you're
but it's
looking
good
for a
to find.
replacement to your P. Diddy album, American Time Machine is it.
That's the pitch, right?
Oh
there?
yeah, oh yeah. No more R. Kelly. Move over, R. Kelly. It's Kurt time.
Yeah. Crypto
American
Alchemist.
Time Machine.
Make sure you guys sign up. He's almost at 10K, so like push him up onto the list and yeah.
Please do. They've kept me there for a full year now, and it's getting a little depressing, but we persist.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. Well, I love you all. We'll see you next time. God
Love
bless.
you too, bro. Take care.
Crops keep evolving.
Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes.